3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, theys, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter. Thank you so much for listening. I've got a review for the latest T.I. West film in Pearl, an extraordinary story, which of course stars Mia Goth, who pulled double duty in X, playing two roles, which I won't spoil that, but I do have to talk about X in order to talk about Pearl, so there will be some spoilers in this, mild spoilers. I'll dance around most of this movie. I'm gonna keep this review kind of short, but Mia Goth plays the titular Pearl, and just from jump, we have to give T.I. West a ton of credit, because X, I believe, will go down as a horror classic. I think we'll be having the conversation a decade from now going, is X in that, that upper echelon of horror films? And I believe it is. I think X is an incredibly well done film. Pearl might be better. And the only reason I say that, or the main reason I say that, is because Mia Goth, man, my God, this woman, it's so weird that it really felt like she came from out of nowhere. I know she was in, I believe, the first Nymphomaniac. I do remember her from Emma as well, but this woman is a force of nature, and that is the biggest compliment I can give this film. We've talked about it, or I've talked about before, about how the Academy really rarely, unfortunately, recognizes horror, especially the contributions to it. I mean, you have to be something like a Get Out, it seems like, to kind of break through that glass ceiling. But if I heard Mia Goth Best Actress nomination, I would be so incredibly happy, because this is an award-worthy performance that she gives as Pearl. The thing about this film in particular, and I believe I used the same analogy in my X review, but which is up on the channel now, by the way, but this movie is very similar to a Jack in the Box, where you're just kind of waiting for things to pop off, and Pearl just has this uneasiness to her from jump. She has this incredibly, I'll be kind and say tumultuous, relationship with her mother, who's played by Tandy Wright, who plays Ruth. And Ruth, the relationship between Pearl and Ruth is so fascinating, because it does definitely delve into the generational trauma. Knowing the events of X and where that goes, it really makes Pearl an even more tragic character and an even more tragic film, because Ruth is falling in line with what Pearl ends up becoming, where she's this woman who got dealt some really unfortunate hands. She wasn't able to go ahead and be what she wanted to be in life. Therefore, she's bitter. And the way that she really is projecting that onto Pearl, the more she starts to pull away and the more she starts to explore her own desires. It's a fascinating juxtaposition in a tug of war that the women are engaged in. And Pearl in particular, it's fascinating how early on she comes across as just very eccentric, and you're kind of going, okay, she's weird, but we're all weird. But then there's that point where something occurs and you go, oh, she might be gone. She just might be kind of fucked. I'll get to that in a moment. But the movie goes ahead and picks up in 1918. Pearl goes ahead and sees, this old-timey video of of like women dancing. She feels inspired. She feels like she needs to be on the silver screen to be adored by, in her words, as many people as possible who don't know her. That's her goal. That's what she's wanting. And in particular, she really has these somewhat lustful desires. And the way that the film kind of gets into that is pretty interesting, because Howard, her husband, is off is off in the army, if memory serves. And so there's a war going on. So, of course, 1918. And so she's really by herself with her parents. And her dad is basically unable to speak. He's in a wheelchair. And Ruth is just completely bitter about that aspect of the relationship as well. There's a point where Ruth drops this line where she goes, "I was supposed to be a wife to him, not to your father, not be his mother." And that line in particular just cuts so deep when you get into the context of the film and where the plot goes. And I don't know, y'all. I've talked about it on the show before how I feel like it takes a good amount to make me uncomfortable. I don't really cringe at stuff very easily. I just kind of go like, oh, all right, whatever movie, give it to me. This movie, there are so many moments. There's this point where Pearl kills this goose, and you think, she killed a goose. All right, like it's fucked. But how that spirals into other things we don't know about Pearl, especially as we get towards the climax of the film, it's one of those things where you go, oh man, there have been breadcrumbs about how insane she is. And I would say if you can avoid watching the trailer, I did see the trailer once, I want to say, before another movie I went and saw. But if you can avoid watching a trailer for this, I would, because the colder you go in, the better. And I'm personally really happy that I didn't see several trailers for this movie because, as I just said, the less you know going into this, the better. You obviously know that Pearl has a dark side to her. So much of the fun is seeing how that dark side presents itself and how she spirals and the events that cause her to spiral. She meets this guy, the projectionist, who's played by David, I'm going to butcher your name, sir, sorry, Cornsweat. I don't think they actually give him a name. I believe she actually just kind of refers to him as the projectionist the whole time. She starts having fantasies about him, and he's kind of talking to her about cinema and how, things are gonna be. And it's their relationship is very fascinating. And the way that goes ahead and plays itself out is really a ton of fun. And when you start to see Pearl interact with other characters, because she's not interacting with too many people, which for me is actually why I prefer this over X, because the scope is a little more narrow. We had several characters in X, but we really only have Pearl, the projectionist, Ruth, her dad, and then Misty, who's Howard's sister. That's it, really. That's really it. And so the fact that even though it just cuts down on a few characters from X as far as the scope, it does help for us to go ahead and get to know Pearl more. And that actually benefits the film quite a bit. Some of the scenes between Pearl and her mother in particular are just so hard to watch. And I mean that as a compliment. There's this scene where it's storming outside and Ruth just lays into Pearl about how I won't allow you to wander around in foolish fantasies and hide from your responsibilities any longer. And you just see in real time how Ruth is just, her patience is just deteriorating for Pearl wanting to leave. And there's this one line, I'm paraphrasing, but Ruth says, "Oh, you're going to go ahead and become a big star and leave your parents to go ahead and, and starve and get old." And I was sitting there going, yeah, kids leave home. That's a thing. And it's fascinating how Ruth is calling Pearl selfish when she's being exactly as selfish as what she's claiming Pearl is. I love how she's completely unaware of that, and the way that Pearl very horribly points that out. I went, ooh, this is just going to lead to more conflict. And their conflict is awesome. I loved anytime Ruth and Pearl got into it, and the times that they do get into it, it's very intense. If you did see the trailer, you probably saw a moment or two when Mia Goth yells or is screaming or is melting down. It's very similar to, oh my gosh, Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny. When Dennis Reynolds is having a freak out, it's some of my favorite shit on the show. When Pearl's having a meltdown of any significance, it is, oh God, what's about to happen? Oh God, what's she gonna do? I loved watching Mia Goth freak out. And as the film goes on and as the chess pieces get moved around the board, And as she becomes who she's supposed to be, it's such a grim journey to get there. And yet at the same time, it's such a fascinating character study on a woman who really just needed a few more hugs and not a mother who was insane. Because Ruth is terrible. She's a terrible parent. She's not nurturing at all. She never says that she's proud of Pearl. There's a point where Pearl gets given money from Ruth, her mom, to go ahead and get some medicine for her dad. And so I think she gets like 8 cents back, and she uses it on hard candy. And Ruth pulls Pearl's bowl away mid-eating and goes, yeah, all right, cool. You already ate. You don't get to enjoy the food that I made by myself while sitting here. And you just go, wow, what a bit. It's really quite tragic in that moment of how just disappointed Ruth is of Pearl. And there's a point where she flat out tells Pearl, I don't want to spoil the line, but she tells her that she's disappointed in her. And it's one of those moments where you go, oh, fuck, you can't say that shit. But it's one of these movies where I love the camera work. T.I. West, I praise the camera work in X. There are some really cool transitions here. There's a moment where Pearl is pushing her dad in his wheelchair, and it transitions like Microsoft PowerPoint style into this wide shot of this field that she's running through. It's really cool. And there's several transitions like that in camera effects that I went, man, T.I. West is having fun with this. And there really is nothing better than a director in his or her or their element when they're going ahead and they're firing on all cylinders. And T.I. West is firing on all cylinders on this movie. Do not misunderstand. It's crazy too how the last 90 seconds of this movie, and especially the final shot of this movie, is something I went, oh, this could potentially give me nightmares. I was very impressed, honestly, with the final shot and how the movie ends. And you'll know it when you get there. There is a monologue of Pearl talking to another character, and she really talks about herself. It's one of those scenes where it cuts away once or twice to the person that she's having the conversation with, but outside of that, it's just a one take on Mia Goth. And the more the scene goes on, the more I just kept going, oh my god, she's saying this out loud. Oh my god, she's saying this out loud. Oh my god, this girl's nuts. Oh my god, this girl's nuts. Just the more the film lets her just go off in this scene, my eyes just kept getting bigger and bigger and going, fuck, this is nuts. How that scene ends up and what it leads to is so wonderfully kick-ass. There's a shot at the 50-minute, 24-second mark that you absolutely have to see. It's one of my favorite shots of the year already. There's this moment where, because as I mentioned, Pearl's dad isn't able to speak. There's this moment where she gets dressed and goes, oh, what do you think of my outfit? Props to Matthew Sunderland, because he just has like a single tear fall from his face, in the way that he's able to convey the terror of who Pearl is becoming without saying a word. Gold star. It's fucking incredible. It's a great performance by Matthew Sunderland, because he's having to use his face and just his eye movements to go ahead and relay so much emotion and get through his fear. And it's so well done. I loved seeing him and Mia Goth interact, and it's incredible performance, and just all the credit in the world to him. But as I wrap up here, I dug the hell out of this movie. I really don't have a complaint about it. So I'm gonna give this a fan-fucking-tastic. I don't have a complaint about it. I thought this movie kicked so much ass, and there are some dance sequences in here that I thought were so incredibly fun as Pearl's envisioning the life that she deserves. And there are just these lines that she drops. There's a point where she flat out says, I don't feel well. And I just looked at the screen and went, oh, then everyone that's in the room right now should probably leave. Like there's so many moments like that where you go, oh, this is making me so uncomfortable and my skin's crawling a little bit. But at the same time, you want to see what happens next. It does a great job of keeping you engaged, but still laying on all these creepy horror elements. I dug the hell out of this. So this is a fan-fucking-tastic. I hope I can make room for it on my top 10 because all the great shit's starting to come out now. I dug the hell out of this. I can't wait to watch it again. If you loved X, if you liked X, I think you'll love Pearl. I personally like Pearl more just because of the, as I mentioned earlier, the shortened scope and being able to focus on fewer characters. But Mia Goth, she's special. She is fucking special. This felt like when I watched Lady Bird and I went, oh man, Saoirse Ronan, she's fucking talented. She's gonna be one of those actresses I'm watching for 20, 30 years. I feel the same way about Mia Goth. She's found her niche working with T.I. West. I would not be surprised if she stays in the horror, realm for a while. She was also an executive producer on this and I believe a co-writer. So she really clearly cares about this character, gets the character, and gets how to function in this world. So I look forward to seeing what else she does next. But this is an absolute incredible performance that she delivers as Pearl, and hopefully we can get more Pearl, like young Pearl. I'd be down for that, but absolutely adore this movie. So, Pearl, what did you think of it? Let us know in the comments. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you check out podcasts: SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, and Samsung Podcasts, to name a few, at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow me on Letterboxd at Black Shazam, and you can follow me on TikTok at Black Shazam 775. And then don't forget to like both our pages on Facebook, at The Real Pineapple and Real Pineapple Games. And you can check out all my reviews archived, including the new ones, on NevadaFilmCriticsSociety.com. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll have reviews coming up here soon for Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. And we're going to be doing some holiday movies. I'll be posting that list on our socials here in the next week, so stay tuned for that, as well as our review for Twilight, because the 13-year anniversary of Twilight was this past Monday. I went ahead and reviewed that with my friend Nick over at the Afternoon Tune. You can check out the Afternoon Tune anywhere on socials, by the way. But we went ahead and reviewed the whole Twilight saga, so our review for Twilight is up, and our review for New Moon and Eclipse are up as well now. Actually, I think the whole saga should be up by the time you listen to this. So yeah, check out our socials. They'll all be up there. But yeah, I'll have reviews up for Avatar coming up soon. We'll be reviewing Avatar 2. Hopefully it's good. But I'll have reviews up for that, as well as Armageddon Time, Tar. There's a lot of reviews coming down the pipeline, so keep an eye out on socials, everyone. I'll be talking about what's coming up, as well as on these the end of these recordings. But everyone, please stay safe out there. Get your vaccine, get your flu shot. Stay warm. It's like 18 degrees here in Reno, but please stay safe out there, everyone. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.